Thanks for tuning back into the channel. We've done landfall, we've done life gain, we've done equipment. Now we're back with another popular commander staple, tokens, with a Final Fantasy commander, Rinoa Heartlily. So what she wants to do is whenever she attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. So we want to have plenty of creatures on the battlefield. Of course, there are some pretty expensive cards in this deck, as always, because we are showing you the most optimized option of what you could do with this deck, not necessarily the cheapest or, you know, other ways you run this deck. But this is like just, and also it's just a brief overview of what you can do. There's always like other options. EDH Rec is a great option for that. And also her other thing that she does is that she gets a 1/1 white dog creature token named Angelo. I'm not familiar with what game she's from, so I'm not really certain as to who Angelo is, but I'm sure he's a good boy. But yeah, let's get into the rest of the cards that are in this deck. So we're going to go over artifacts, creatures, enchantments, instants, lands, planeswalkers, and sorceries. If you do have your own tips or tricks, make sure you leave it down there in the comment section. First card we run is Ashnod's Altar. You sacrifice a creature to add 2 mana. You don't sacrifice Angelo, because Angelo's a good boy, but you can sacrifice any of your other tokens in order to get that additional mana, in order to make sure that you have plenty of mana to cast your stuff. Also, there's certain cards in here that cost a lot to cast, so, you gotta run that casting cost by getting rid of some tokens. Eldrazi Monument. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and have flying and indestructible. You have your upkeep, sacrifice the creatures, so you're gonna have plenty of tokens to sacrifice. But also, your tokens being indestructible and having flying allows you to help get over that a little bit. Start getting over your opponent's stuff a little bit in order to make sure you can swing in. Because a lot of times the benefit of token decks is that you keep swinging in, and then your opponent doesn't have enough things to block them all, and then you get in with what you can get in with, but you lose a couple in the process. But with the Eldrazi Monument, you don't lose anything in the process. And a little bit of extra damage while we're at it, because they're normally just 1/1s. Idol of Oblivion, draw a card when you create a token, creating plenty of tokens, a lot of draw power there. Lightning Greaves, in order for Rinoa to have her ability happen, you need to attack with her, so we want to make sure she can attack the turn she comes in. So we have cards like Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots in order to give her haste. Catcher's Monument, get some tokens, get some cheaper to cast spells in order to make sure that, we can keep casting our stuff and having those tokens while we're at it. Skull Clamp, getting rid of our 1/1 creature tokens in order to draw cards. A lot of times you're going to run out of things to do, so you're going to want to draw cards so you have more things to do. Soul Ring for that extra mana while we're at it as well. Then for creatures, we have Einok, Strike Leader. Whenever you attack this creature and or your commander, for each opponent, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking that player. So that's an additional +3/+3 onto the target creature based on Rinoa's ability, with getting those tokens on the battlefield. Avengers Zendikar, getting tokens equal to the number of lands you control that could get more powerful when you get even more lands. You're in green, so you have plenty of ways to get lands, and also you have plenty of lands on the battlefield already. And also, once again, this is one of those things where Ashnod's Altar does help out a whole bunch, because it is 7 mana to cast this. Kadira, Caller is small. It's whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, for each token you control, create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. So you're basically doubling the amount of creatures you have on the battlefield, since, 1/1 tokens are basically 1/1 tokens. Champion Lambhold, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you don't necessarily need to cast it, so when you use your spells that create plenty of tokens, that could potentially be like, +5/+5, and then your opponent can't block unless they have plenty of 6/6s to block them. Circle of Dream Druid, add green mana for every creature you control. Once again, you're creating plenty of tokens, which do count as creatures, so you're getting plenty of mana off that. Creative Behemoth, when this creature enters, creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. And they also gain Trample, so if you have 20 tokens on the board, you may as well give them +20/+20, and get that ability off to destroy your opponent in one hit, or all your opponents while you're at it. Enduring Vitality, plenty of mana. You don't always need to swing in every turn, so you can use those same creatures for mana for a turn in order to get off your big spells. Galton Mavern, if we're going to be swinging in with a whole bunch of tokens, may as well get a whole bunch more tokens while we're at it. And This does base it off of the amount of attacking creatures you control, so you do have to swing in with them all, is the only thing there. Or if you use Rinoa, I don't even know how to pronounce her name, ability, you do get to give this creature plus X plus X. Oh, wait, no, wait. Increase power among other attacking creatures. Sorry, I almost read that wrong. So if you give another creature like that plus 10 for all the tokens you have, you know, you get a extra 13 token while we're at it. Jaheira, Friend of the Forest. Same thing as Enduring Vitality. May as well tap them for mana when we need it. Whenever a land enters, get a token. Other creatures get +1/+1. Give them a little bit of stat boost. Give them even more tokens. Mentor to me. A little bit of draw power when our tokens enter. Let's scroll down. Where are we? Yep, Mondrak, Lori Dominus. Yeah, I heard you like tokens, so you may as well have double the tokens. Moonshaker Cavalry. Yeah, plus X, same thing as Crater of Behemoth, essentially, just instead of trample, it gives them flying. So if they're running dragons, they're able to block them a little easier. If they're running, things that stay on the ground, they have a harder time blocking them. Queen Alanal of Rudak. Powers equal to the number of creatures you control, and whenever you create tokens, create an additional token. So you get a super powerful creature at a certain point, especially if you give her she's basically XX, where X is the number of creatures you control, and then you give her plus X on top of that, so she's just basically like, 20/20 if you control 10 tokens. Reese the Redeemed, great creature doubler, token doubler, great for creating one token every so often. Scoot Swarm, everyone's going to hate it, everyone's going to try to remove it right away, but if you have 6 more lands, get an additional Scoot Swarm every time you have a land enter the battlefield, which can be plenty of Scoot Swarms at a certain point. Tendency Dryad, create a 1/1 sapling every player's upkeep, not just your own. You get during every player's, and also if you're doubling that, you pass your turn, and all of a sudden you come back to your turn, and you have 8 1/1 creature tokens, which with this and 1 land on the battlefield, you get the City's Blessing, so they all become 8 Drees. Trostani's Selesnia's Voice. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life, where equal to that creature's toughness. So, you're having plenty of creatures enter, may as well gain some life off it. And then Voice of Victory, make it so your opponent can't counter all our spells. When we pay 20 mana, sacrifice all our creatures with Ashnod's Altar, so you got even more mana to cast their stuff, and then your opponent's just like, well, I have 2 blue up, that'll be a counter spell. We make it so that they can't do that. And also 2 tokens while we're at it. Where were we? We're up to the enchantments. Annoying Procession, double the tokens. Once again, same as Mondrak. We like tokens. We may as well have double the tokens. Aura Shards, whenever a creature enters the battlefield, not cast. So you get to have, basically, if your opponent's playing artifacts. If your opponent's playing an equipment deck, you really get to destroy everything they're trying to do. Beastmaster Ascension, plus, also that one, just something to note about it, is, it is a May ability. Yep, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Beastmaster Ascension, this, it's whenever you attack with a creature, so it's based upon each creature that we attack with. So if we're swinging with 5 1/1s, we basically get this ability 7 1/1s, we get this ability right away, making all those 7 1/1s into 7 6/6s. Kadar's Crusade, this is something that, if you like math, it's really fun. If you don't like keeping track of stuff, take it out of the deck. It puts +1/+1 counters onto your creatures anytime a creature enters the battlefield. So if you have 5 1/1s entering with an ability, you have 1 6/6, 1 5/5, 1 4/4, because they each get it for each one that enters, as each one will see a different one entering. Cripple it right. Creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Same thing as the Enduring Vitality. Super helpful there. Doubling Season. Same thing as Annoying Procession. Double our number of creatures that we're creating. Veldar Retreat creates 2/2 cat token anytime we get a land onto the battlefield. We're running green, so we have plenty of ways to get lands onto the battlefield, and as you saw, we don't run really any artifact mana fixing, so we have plenty of ways to get it with the landfall. So we're going to be playing 2/2 cat tokens. Mirai's Wake, well, since we're going to be doubling stuff, we may as well double the amount of mana that we have. Parallel Lives, not needing to double the amount of tokens. And Smothering Tide, I tend not to run Smothering Tide in every deck, but since we're running tokens and so many token doublers, we may as well, because that'll be 2 tokens. And also the thing to note about this is it doubles the amount of tokens. So it's not +1/+1. It goes from 1 treasure token to 2 treasure tokens to 4 treasure tokens to 8 treasure tokens to 16 if you have all of your token doublers on the board. We have Aura Mutation. Destroy target enchantment, create X/1/1 green snapperling tokens. Sometimes our opponent will have like an omniscience on the battlefield. We get rid of that and get our own 9 creature tokens, and then we can get that into 18. We can get that into 36, and then 72, 148. 144. Beast Within for removal, Generous Gift for removal, Grand Crescendo for a bunch of creature tokens. This is one of those things where I was talking about, where we pay X, we sacrifice a whole bunch of creature tokens. We don't want that getting countered. Heroic Intervention for some protection, Path to Exile for removal, Rite of Harmony. Once again, draw power. Rootborn Defense, Populate and Protection, Second Harvest, double our tokens essentially, but you create the number of tokens. So say if you have those 144, you go up to 288, which becomes 516, which becomes 1032, which becomes 2072, which becomes 4144, which is a lot. And then especially if you have Katar's Crusade on the board, you don't want to keep track of that sometimes. Secure the ways to create X/1/1 warrior creature tokens. Once again, creating a lot of tokens. We want to do it. We like it. Southern Growth, a little bit of removal, a little bit of creature token creation. Swords to Plowshares for a little bit of removal. Unbreakable Formation, make ourselves indestructible, that bit of protection. Creating a bunch of 2/2 cats. Like I said, we like to create tokens. And then create even more tokens with Will of Damar do. Alright, let's scroll over. Sorry, I almost scrolled too far. Alright, we have lands, which of course we always go into last. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot we have another token doubler in the stack with Elspeth's Stormslayer. She's mainly just here for token doubling, but she also creates tokens herself, puts +1/+1 counters on the creatures, and gets even more removal. And then Elspeth, Sun's Champion, creates some tokens, board wipe for all of our opponent's stuff, because it's power 4 or greater, which we tend not to have. Be careful if you have like the +1/+1 counters like Katar's Crusade or I forgot what the other one I had that gives them all +5/+5. Awaken the Woods, plenty of 1/1 creature tokens. Farseek for some lands. Finale of Glory for plenty of creature tokens. Harvest Season, which gives us a lot of lands. Say if we have 20 tokens on board, we get 20 lands. Well, they also have to have attacked and have to be tapped. Destroy all non-token creatures. We have a few non-token creatures, but they're mostly there to get creature tokens. So, we party. Kodama's Reach for some lands. Martial Coup for some tokens. Lands. Draw power. Lands. And then, as always, I always like to say, you can always just run basics. You don't necessarily need to spend $138 on lands. I know I wouldn't. I know that I'd run all basics, but this is just like if you want to run the ideal land package, I'll just scroll through it while I just, do my little outro. But, so, thanks so much for watching. If you have your own recommendations as to how you'd run the deck, make sure you leave it down there in the comment section. Oh, sorry, and there's another token tripler in this deck as well. Ojer, so, almost forgot about that. But yeah, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe so you can stay tuned for more deck profiles, more tips and tricks as to how we could run Final Fantasy commanders, how we can run other commanders, and just, potential gameplay footage at a certain point. But thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a good rest of the day.